This is such an amazing tool to help accelerate client outcomes. Okay, this is a tool that's going to help as we stack it and add it with these other things, and then we're going to get you the result.
You're saying if I actually make people better, they will pay me more.
Yes.
Well, it's a crazy concept.
Yeah, and setting those expectations, telling the story, and building the plan or the protocol to get there, your client longevity is going to stick.
All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Business Secrets. I am here with my good friend, Dr. Ryan Myers of US Hyperbarics. Ryan, thanks for joining us today, man.
Yeah, you bet. Excited to be on and chat with you today.
So, Ryan, we're talking hyperbarics, but let's talk about the business of hyperbarics.
Yes.
Give me a little bit of background on how you've incorporated it into your own personal business.
Yeah, so the story is, I got introduced to hyperbaric oxygen therapy really early on in my journey as a clinician. And so when we opened our own, it was the very first thing we added outside of me and a table. And we're now 7 years deep, and we have 4 chambers, and I have over 20,000 clinical hours of observing hyperbaric oxygen therapy in the clinic. And so, and there's a lot that goes into that, right? There's the clinical side, and then as we're talking about the business, a few things that we learned early is this is such an amazing tool to help accelerate client outcomes, which is what we're all about at the root. That's why we all get into what we're doing, is to help people overcome the challenges that are helping them from live the life that they want to live, whether it's pain or sickness or those types of things. The thing that is like the dark side that people don't really want to talk about is we also have to make money doing it, right? There's this weird thing in kind of this healthcare of like, oh, we're just here to take care of people. Cool, but you also need to keep your lights on and pay your people and do those things. And hyperbarics is a phenomenal tool because it accelerates both. From a clinical side, we call it the ultimate accelerator of healing and recovery, because when you add and stack it to other things, you see things just accelerate. But then on the other side, and we run our numbers, and this is the difference. I own a clinic and I also own a hyperbaric company. And so we teach because we see each chamber in our clinic on average annually provides between 70 and 80 grand in net profit. So not only we
That's profit, not gross.
Correct.
Okay.
So, so we see a huge clinical health outcome, but then it's also helping grow and accelerate our business at the same time. So one of the things when I decided, I was doing hyperbarics as a clinician and looking around and doing all this stuff and using other companies' equipment, and saw a couple things. One, just flaws in the equipment and things that weren't working. But then 2, they would just sell you a chamber and then it almost kind of like wish you luck as they're like closing the door and like saying, go get him. And like, it was a good thing I knew what I was doing. So with US Hyperbarics, yes, we manufacture and sell, but we have a huge passion and feel like we have a duty to share and teach other clinicians and other businesses how to use this modality, not only for the health outcomes, but also how to be successful in business. So we do quite a bit of that. Yes, we sell a machine, but we also sell and work with you to grow your business, because it's, again, you got to make money doing this, but also you're going to make money when you know how to get people better. If you can get people better differently than everybody else does, then you're going to be successful.
So let me get this straight. You're saying if I actually make people better, they will pay me more.
Yes.
Well, it's a crazy concept.
Yeah. So, that's the whole game, right? We want to get people better. We want to get them out of their pain, out of their sickness, out of their illness. But one of the things we see and we hear all the time is struggling to get people to come back and struggling to extend that lifetime value of a client. And hyperbarics is a tool that, when added the right way, helps to increase that longevity and get people coming back. What we see on the clinical side all the time is even once we're done with whatever they came in with, they love it so much that they want to figure out how to keep using it and keep doing it.
So we're going to pretend that maybe people who are watching aren't familiar with hyperbarics. Can you give me the science and maybe some basic things that you're treating in it or supporting?
Yes.
In like 60 seconds or less?
Yeah. So the like patient elevator speech is I explain to people, we increase pressure a little bit, we increase oxygen a lot of it. And so if oxygen is the high octane fuel your cells need to do their job, it's like pouring a fire hose of oxygen on all of your cells. So because it's that general and that broad, you can help almost any condition out there. So we see actively anything from soft tissue to orthopedic conditions like fractures, etc., heal in half the time, to neurological like concussions, migraines, neurodegenerative diseases, to chronic illnesses such as Lyme disease, autoimmunity, SIRS, biotoxin illness, and really everything in between. And so we actively use it as part of our protocols for all of the above. And then we just have people coming in and using it on a regular basis for recovery. It's huge in sports medicine. We see and treat a lot of that from, again, concussion to recovery. And with athletes, you get a range of, I just know I have more energy and I'm less sore and I feel better when I show up to practice to games, to the athletes that are like, this helps me play longer, farther, faster, as well as this helps me protect my brain and my head for the rest of my life.
Well, and guys, had the pleasure of presenting with Dr. Ryan a few times, and he has this video of that 16-year-old girl, man, that like tearjerker of this girl that severed her spine essentially.
Yep.
And in a few months was through hyperbarics and other modalities walking. I mean, and playing soccer competitively now, right?
Yeah. So update, she just last weekend, she returned to her first full weekend soccer tournament, playing full time, full out, no restrictions whatsoever.
And that's a little bit less than a year.
Just over a year from her initial injury, but you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know that she had a spinal cord injury.
And guys, when you hear that, like when I say spinal cord injury, her spine was like separated and fused, and I mean just all these things.
Yeah, it was the worst spinal fracture the neurosurgeon had ever seen.
Oh, that's just nuts, man. But it's also goosebumps to show you the power of what hyperbarics can do.
Yes.
On a totally like anecdotal thing, I spoke at a conference 3 weeks ago that had some hyperbaric, and the owner fractured his wrist and went to the doctor, got the initial x-ray. They told him to come back the next week. And so he's in this space. So he overdid hyperbaric for 8 days.
Yep.
They did another x-ray a week later, and the doctor's like, what happened?
We see this all the time. And that's my favorite thing, because the orthopedics will always say, man, we've never seen anything heal this fast. And the patient tells them what they do, and they say, that doesn't work, but we've never seen anything heal this fast. And it's just repeatable.
That's awesome. So let's talk about dollars and cents here. I have hyperbarics. How are you charging? Is it sessions? Is it packages? What do you see works best?
Yes, so we have learned over time, and what we teach is packages based on clinical protocols or based on condition-specific protocols. So, and that's a whole nother deep dive, but we sell them in different tiered packages and discount at the package price. And what we've learned, we presented once, and we were sitting on a panel, and somebody asked, how do you market hyperbarics? And I said, we don't. And the analogy that I love to use is, we don't market the hammer, we market the mansion that you build with the hammer. So all of our packages are built into treatment plans in our clinic. And in places that are non-medical, we teach the same thing. It's about creating a story and a solution and a package. So create your travel package, your fatigue package, your migraine package, like create and brand a package and a story that, oh, by the way, has hyperbarics in it. We very rarely ever have anybody that just comes in for hyperbarics, because usually they're asking about it, but they're asking about it because they have Lyme disease and they heard about it, or because they can't heal from their surgery that happened or whatever. And it's like, okay, this is a tool that's going to help as we stack it and add it with these other things. And then we're going to get you the result. And so like I said, we have 4 that run almost 10 hours a day nonstop, because they're just a part of the story and a part of the solution that we offer, not a standalone therapy.
Well, and something that we actually at that seminar, I remember we talked about, is whenever you're marketing, guys, and that's our passion here at Wellness Business Secrets, is the marketing and sales piece. Talk about outcomes, not procedures.
Yes.
Like for me, with the FDA, even to be honest, I can't say certain things in an ad. But if Becky says she had Lyme disease when she walked in and she's like, I don't have it anymore after this place, you can put that as an ad all day.
Yep. And that's where, we're in our clinic, we can talk about it a little bit more because we are clinically driven. But even that, it's talking about, here are the mechanisms. So when we teach, it's here's what's going on. Here's the root cause with our patients, whether it's a tissue issue or an inflammation issue. And here are the therapies that are going to address that. And we've been able to prove it not only in symptoms, but in lab and other biomarkers, that hyperbarics is actually doing what we know the research says we're seeing in the clinic. And so, like, we have a patient that just started the other week, and they're like, look, I don't know what it is, but I'm less fatigued. I have less brain fog. I have all these types of things. And the only thing I've added is hyperbarics. And to me, that's enough, right? for them to say, I don't want to stop doing this because I felt better than I have felt in 10 years.
Well, and I think the cool thing is like looking at the way the hyperbaric is set up in your clinics and the minimal, really there's supervision, but it's minimal comparative to a lot of modalities.
Correct.
Even if I'm doing something like I was talking to someone earlier that does ketamine, and they're like, we do ketamine, but we have to take breaks between the medication because it gets so intense. We've talked about this. But if I can have someone come in and do hyperbaric once or twice a week for the 6 weeks on the gap of the medication, still get clarity, still get better, still get that, I can keep that patient where I would have lost them normally.
Totally. So that's where I love talking about stacking with other therapies and building it a part of a long-term plan. Whether we're doing other IVs or other treatments or ketamine or other therapies, hyperbarics rolls into all of that. And then you say, hey, instead of a 3-week program, this might be a 8, 9, 10, 12-week program. And we're just going to layer and stack through that process and actually produce a better outcome at the end because you're able to actively do things instead of just stagger your way through it.
Well, and I hope everyone's hearing what he just said, because if someone's coming to you guys, even if your main hammer, your main tool is hyperbaric, you're not selling a hyperbaric session. You're selling the 12-week plan, the 20-week plan. And I think, and I don't know how you guys do this, but you can tell the person that might be $7,000. We can break that up over time, but I think setting that pace of there is a roadmap here will save you a lot of battles down the line with a patient who doesn't want to pay anymore.
Yep, exactly. And setting those expectations, telling the story, and building the plan or the protocol to get there, your client longevity is going to stick. They're going to stay. They're going to see it through. We used to do like more onesie twosie membership type stuff and people would drop off. But when you set the expectation of like, hey, here are the protocols, both proven in literature and proven clinically, and it does take time, but here's why, they're not going to stop.
I mean, no one goes to physical therapy like, I just want one session.
The analogy I always use, because people are like, well, how do I feel after one? I said, well, did you have a 6-pack after you went to the gym once? It's like, no. And our physiology, we know this as doctors and clinicians, even, and you and I have talked about this, we both kind of come from a strength and conditioning fitness world. Tell people it's the same thing. We know your physiology takes about 6 weeks to adapt and change. It's the same whether you're in the gym or whether you're in the clinic doing rehab and healing. That phase of time still has to happen, but we can accelerate the amount that happens in that time when you add a modality like hyperbarics.